It should not be controversial to say death to U.S. imperialism. The United States and the Israelis started a war with Iran by assassinating their head of state. The fight for a better world starts with fighting U.S. imperialism.
Stop scrolling right now. A prominent political leader just said this on camera, and the internet is absolutely melting down. You have to hear what he demands next.
Imperialism on any front where it might rear its head. It starts with withdrawing U.S. forces. It should not be controversial to say death to U.S. imperialism and death to U.S. empire. This should be the moderate position.
Wait, did you catch that? This isn't just some random troll seeking clout on the timeline. This is a recognized leader in a major political organization flat out calling for the end of the U.S. empire on a public platform. Look closely at the conviction on his face. He genuinely believes this shouldn't even be a controversial take. We went from subtle policy disagreements to literally broadcasting anti-imperialist ultimatums from a living room. What fascinates me here isn't just the specific words being used, but the modern digital environment that makes someone comfortable enough to record this, review it, and hit upload without a second thought. The Overton window hasn't just shifted, it has been shattered completely. It makes you wonder how widespread this specific ideology has become behind closed doors in these political circles. Are we looking at a fringe outlier, or is this the new baseline for grassroots political discourse? Because if this level of absolute candor is the new normal, the upcoming election cycles are going to be completely unrecognizable to anyone who grew up in the 90s.
Who is representing people of America on the Hill? They want to eliminate the U.S. Senate. They want to replace the president and the U.S. Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by a subordinate to Congress. They want amnesty for all immigrants, and they want to defund the Department of War.
Look at the bullet points they just flashed on the screen there. Eliminating the U.S. Senate, replacing the Supreme Court entirely, it is absolutely wild to see these massive structural teardowns being presented as standard policy platform bullet points on national television. What you are witnessing is the rapid mainstreaming of institutional overhaul. Usually, politicians try to slowly chip away at the system using 1,000 tiny bureaucratic cuts, but this agenda is literally proposing to bulldoze the entire federal framework and start from scratch. Notice how the anchor presents it so matter-of-factly, too. Just 10 years ago, putting a graphic like that on the air would have been treated like science fiction or a dystopian novel plot. Now it is just regular weekday news. The real question you have to ask yourself is, how much of this platform is just a negotiation tactic to move the center further left, and how much is a genuine roadmap? Because if even 10% of those bullet points get serious legislative traction, the constitutional ripples would be absolutely massive.
I don't want to talk about it. I told you that before the call.
Yeah.
It's open. We bombed the hell out of them last night. They're very, very evil and sick people. We had meetings with them for the last. They agreed to a deal yesterday, a perfect deal for us. No nuclear, no this, no that, no nothing. They gave up everything. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they left the room. And then within an hour, they launched a drone at a ship. I said, you people are sick. You're sick people. And so it's one of those things. I don't want to talk about it.
Finally, before I let you go.
I want to talk about one person today, Lindsey.
Are you hearing the confidence in his voice? The way he pivots from honoring a longtime colleague straight into discussing high-stakes international conflict without missing a single beat is a masterclass in media manipulation. He perfectly understands that the network called him for a eulogy, but he is treating it like a prime-time national security briefing. Pay attention to how he frames the military response. He speaks in absolute absolutes. There is no political hedging, no we are monitoring the situation, just straight, blunt force commentary. It is fascinating because it forces the network to cover his foreign policy stance when they only intended to ask him a human interest question. You really have to appreciate the raw media literacy on display here. He knows exactly how to hijack a news cycle and make sure the soundbite that gets clipped for social media isn't the polite morning, but the aggressive posture on Iran. This is exactly why traditional anchors struggle to control interviews with him. He completely ignores the parameters of the segment and writes his own script live on the air.
I believe that we do need to defund the police insofar as defunding the police is disinvesting in the means of incarcerating someone or killing them on the streets. What if we were to invest in social services? What if we were to invest in public schools? What if we were to invest in public libraries?
Okay, pause and rewind that in your head for a second. Look at how carefully he navigates this specific question. The phrase defund the police became such a toxic political liability that you can physically see the mental gymnastics happening in real time as he tries to rebrand the concept without alienating his base. He is utilizing the classic political pivot, redefining the definition of the term so that it sounds like a pleasant community investment rather than a stripping of law enforcement resources. He replaces the harsh reality of defunding with the softer language of disinvesting and reallocating. It is brilliant from a purely semantic standpoint, but you can tell the anchor isn't fully buying the rebrand. Watch his eyes dart slightly when he delivers the core premise. It is the look of a candidate who knows his past social media posts are directly contradicting his current television talking points. The internet never forgets, and trying to walk back a radical slogan by dressing it up in academic, bureaucratic language almost never works when the receipts are already public.
Okay, you're not pursuing it, and I wonder too, I mean, it's a little awkward to ask you about this, but, early this morning, after learning of Senator Graham's death, just a few hours later, you posted, and correct me if I'm wrong if this is not your post, but you posted on social media a clip of Michael Corleone from Godfather 3, where he famously says, "Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in." What did you mean by that?
Well, I love a little self-deprecating humor. I think that right now our focus needs to be on grieving Lindsey Graham.
This is where modern political strategy gets incredibly fascinating. Posting a meme from The Godfather just hours after a major political shift is the ultimate signal to the digital generation. She isn't releasing a stuffy 3-page press release on official letterhead. She is communicating through pop culture on a timeline. It is self-deprecating, it is humorous, and more importantly, it makes her instantly relatable to voters who are exhausted by stiff politician behavior. But do not let the humor fool you. Behind that meme is a highly calculated move to put her name at the absolute top of the conversation for that vacant Senate seat without officially declaring her intentions. By acting reluctant, they pull me back in. She creates this illusion of a draft movement. It makes it look like the public is begging her to run, rather than her aggressively seeking the promotion. It is a brilliant way to test the waters and gauge donor reaction without legally committing to a campaign. Welcome to the era where a movie gif carries more strategic weight than a formal political announcement.
Words about you 10 years ago when you were running against each other.
Did. Well, he ran against me, and he was, formidable. He was tough cook. He was tough and smart, and that's where I got to know him on the campaign. I didn't know him before then, and I spoke to him maybe once in my life before then, but I got to know him. He was one of the 17 people that ran against me, and he was, a smart guy, and it was a nasty campaign. He was tough and nasty.
Listen to the tone shift here right at the beginning. It is actually incredibly rare to hear this level of candid, unscripted reflection about a former political rival. He talks about how they ran against each other, the viciousness of the campaign, and yet there is this underlying tone of genuine, grudging respect for a tough competitor. It is a stark reminder that behind all the performative yelling on debate stages and the nasty television ads, there is an exclusive insider club in Washington. They battle each other fiercely in public, but behind closed doors, they respect the hustle. Notice how he specifically highlights the toughness of the primary. He is using the moment not just to praise the late senator, but to subconsciously remind the audience of his own past victories. Even in a moment of mourning, the political instinct to frame oneself as the ultimate survivor is still firing on all cylinders. It is a complex psychological mix of empathy and ego that you really only see in high-level politicians. Unbelievable what goes on behind the scenes. Hit subscribe if you want more raw breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one.